Hey guys, welcome back to Dan Kavanagh Photography. Thank you so much for tuning back in. It's just been way too long since I've posted a video. Been in the process for the last few months of moving my family from the San Francisco Bay Area to Houston, Texas. A lot of people question why. There's a myriad of reasons, which this channel is not about getting into all that. However, Houston does and Texas provide a lot of new photographic opportunities. Anyways, the undertaking was much bigger and took longer than I expected. That said, before we moved out here, we took a trip to Yosemite. You know what? Some things you just cannot capture. That's what I want to talk about today. All right, so yeah, some things you just cannot capture with photography. I mean, we try, and of course, over the decades, photographers have captured some incredible images, moments of time that are literally historic. I mean, most recently, if you look at the image that recently came out, I mean, whether you hate or love Donald Trump is irrelevant, but the photo that Getty photographer took of the fist pump after he was shot with the flag in the air, I mean, that's fantastic. So that's going to go down in history, that particular photo. That guy might win a Pulitzer Prize. But what I'm talking about here, of course, is nature photography. Went out to Yosemite. Now, Yosemite, of course, is a photographer's dream. But the problem is that there isn't a picture that we haven't seen of Yosemite. Now, Yosemite's huge. It's like 1,300 square miles of national park, and it gets almost 4 million visitors a year average. 5,000 to 6,000 cars a day go through there. But the part we're really talking about almost every time is the little sliver within the park that is the Yosemite Valley. And of course, it's absolutely gorgeous. But because so many people visit there, there are billions of pictures of the same places, you know, Glacier Point, Half Dome, the Yosemite Falls, Tunnel View. We've seen it all so many times. But that doesn't mean I don't want to go get my own. And same thing with you. I don't care what park it is, what monument it is, what ocean it is. We all want to get our pictures, you know. Go take them. It's hard to be different, but so what? You know, the whole idea is to get something. For me, when I take landscape type photography, I'm thinking of printing. I want to get some really cool images of wherever I go that I can print. And that's kind of the idea. Now, we booked this trip over about a year in advance because I wanted to be actually in the valley. And to get reservations, you have to book really far out. Now, of course, you could book hotels and things outside of the park, but you know, you have to drive in, and it takes a long time. I mean, the valley is, I don't know, 45 minutes into the park, whatever. Now, we actually had a trip booked in 2017, and at that time, we actually were going to try to hike Half Dome. Unfortunately, that trip was canceled because the park caught on fire. And of course, the evidence is still there. There's scars all over, but the foliage is back. You know, fire is important to nature to continue on. Anyway, so we canceled that. Now this trip around, you know, we're moving moving to Texas. Neither one of my wife or I have ever been to Yosemite, and that's honestly really kind of a sad fact. We both grew up in the Bay Area, which is about 4.5 hour drive from Yosemite. We're both very outdoorsy people. We love to hike. We like being in the outdoors. And of course, I'm a photographer. So who doesn't want to take pictures at Yosemite? But both our moms and dads didn't care. They didn't do that type of stuff with us at all. In fact, neither one of our parents actually really did anything with us. Never went on family vacations or any of that stuff. And then when my wife and I were married, had kids, we had several issues that just wasn't in the cards to go. But we're like, well, we're moving out of the state. We better go see Yosemite before we leave. I mean, come on. So we booked a year in advance. Our booking was in June. Now, obviously, nature photography, what you get is what nature gives you, and the weather and all of that really makes a huge difference. Now, booking in June, I knew, it's the middle of summer, and I knew I probably wouldn't get the light that I wanted. I wouldn't get the skies that I wanted. But that's just what I had to do. So you just got to deal with what you got. Now, weather in Yosemite is very unpredictable, so you never really know. So we booked and we went. We split our trip. First night we stayed at Wawona, which is actually just inside the park. And the reason for that is because we wanted to go check out the sequoia grove there. So we did that. Stayed at the Wawona Hotel, which is pretty historic. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have much positive to say about that hotel, and I'm not gonna get into it here, but I won't be going back. At any rate, we went to the grove. We did a hike. Now, our bodies are not what they used to be just 7 years ago. Neither one of us can hike like we used to, and Half Dome is out of the question, but we can still stay in the valley and do the lower hikes. Anyway, so there's several trails and hikes around the sequoias. Now, to get back to my point here, some things you just cannot capture. I grew up around the redwoods. I know redwoods backwards, where I love the redwood forest. It's different than any other forest I've been in. I've seen thousands of pictures of the redwood forest. I've seen some amazing pictures of the redwood forest. But until you're actually in front of those trees, you just can't capture it. I mean, here's an image I took of an image in Humboldt State Park. My wife and I went there a year or two ago to check it out. This is the tallest tree in the park. It's called the Stratosphere Giant. It's 370.5 feet tall. How do you get that in a picture? You can't. Until you're standing there looking up at that thing, forget it. Just nuts. But there's actually four, in case you guys are wondering, there are three more trees that are taller than this particular tree. It's not the tallest tree. The other three trees are in the Redwood Forest National Park, which is just actually a few miles north of the Humboldt. And the biggest tree in the world, tallest tree, is, I got it written down here so I do not forget. It's called the Hyperion. 379.1 feet tall as of 2006. So there you go. But to keep moving on, here's a picture I took of some waves off the Mendocino coast. I love the Mendocino coast. That's one of the things I will miss now living in California. But it's not the greatest wave picture. Those are the biggest waves we had actually seen in the times we've been there. But when I look at that picture, I can hear that. I could hear the picture. The waves were thunderous, and it was incredible. But how do you capture that, in an image? You just can't. So now I go to Yosemite. Show up at Yosemite, go through the tunnel view. It's incredible. When you go through there, you come out, and you can see that here. And the whole park, it looks like a painting. It's just wow. Now, here are my images of tunnel view. Not the greatest because I didn't have the skies and whatever, but it's still an amazing sight. Then you get down into the valley, and it's funny, you kind of forget where you're at as you're walking through the valley. Of course, there's people. It was busy. It was the first week actually after kids got out of school, but we went during the week, so there was a lot of people, but it was totally doable. Not a big problem. Anyway, but you're walking around the valley and you just feel like you're in a forest. But then you look up, and there's these massive, just granite mountains all around you, and you're like, it's awe-inspiring. It's like, wow. Anywhere in the valley, you listen, you hear the Yosemite Falls. We got to go up, so we hiked around there. We hiked up to the lower Yosemite Falls. The upper Yosemite Falls is a serious hike, and I just don't think we were up for it, so we didn't do it. I'm gonna go backwards. So we took a hike around the sequoias. I'm actually happy with the images I got. Here's one. I took one, and there were some people, just to give you some idea. But you can't capture their majesty. How incredibly huge they are. By volume, the sequoias are the biggest trees in the world. In comparison, a lot of people think redwoods and sequoias are the same species. They're really not. They're related, but they are quite different. Redwoods grow in about a 15-mile band along the California coast, and they require the cool temperatures and fog. The redwoods average 10 to 15 feet in diameter, and of course are the tallest trees. They grow up, the one is almost 380 feet tall. Sequoias, on the other hand, are the biggest by volume. They average 20 to 25 feet in diameter, and they can hit 300 feet. When you look up at these trees, some of the branches coming off of them, the branches alone are like 6 feet in diameter. They're bigger than some regular trees. It's like, they're incredible. And until you're there, you just can't capture that. But I am pretty happy with these images, so you can check these out. But as I go along here, you get tunnel view, lower Yosemite Falls. We got up to Glacier Point. Got some decent sky, but not something spectacular. Take a look here. When you get to Glacier Point, and again, it looks like a painting. It looks like a painting. It's just absolutely incredible. Half Dome was amazing. Now, I wanted to be in the park, so after we left Wawona, the next day we went to Yosemite Valley Lodge. Nice place. I would totally stay there again. Now, it was June. Not only was I anticipating not having great atmosphere to take pictures in, it was a heat wave, 100-degree temperatures. So it was just cooking. Kind of funky. In fact, it got so bad, I guess the restaurant, the kitchen, doesn't have air conditioning. It got so hot in the kitchen, they had to close it for their employees' sake. That's how bad it was. But it's okay. When you're down in the valley, it's cooler. Get under the trees, and of course the water is kind of floating around from the falls. Anyways, but once you're there, you start thinking about like Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams was really one of the first, if not the first, to really start taking landscape photography, Yosemite, and putting them into the public eye. Now, and of course, I've never taken a deep dive into Ansel Adams. I'm starting to. I bought a really cool book of his there. But his name, of course, we all know is synonymous with Yosemite National Park. Now, Ansel Adams, he took pictures of many of our national parks and is known as a conservationist and all that. What he did for landscape photography is probably immeasurable. And we're all probably familiar with his, his most famous images. But the point is this. Once you're at the park, you look at Ansel Adams. Not even Ansel Adams, the man, could capture Yosemite Park. There's just nothing like it. So that's the point. The point of all this is some things you just can't capture. You need to go. You need to be there. And I think a lot of you know that, especially landscape photographers. A lot of it's just about the journey, being out there. Yosemite is amazing. It's totally worth going. I want to go back. I mean, like I said, I'd never been before, which is kind of a shame. But I have acquaintances and friends that have been there dozens of times. You could take a drive up there on a weekend if you're local. You do have to have reservations now for weekends. But get out there and take nature. We do the best we can, capture the most amazing images we possibly can. You have to go with what you're given. And that's all I could do while I was there. I'm happy with some of them. I don't really got anything I'm going to print, but I want to go back. I'd like to go back in winter, early winter before it gets real heavy. And because Yosemite with snow is, pictures I've seen are incredible, and I want to be there. Anyway, that's it. Onto this thing, still giving away this Nikon lens. It's automatic. It's 35 to 70. Be giving that away as soon as I hit 500 subs. I'm just about there, so I'm looking forward to that. I have lots more stuff I want to give away on this channel, some different things that I'm doing. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and always keep shooting. I'm out.